The title of his speech is Alaka'i. Help me welcome Aniruth Narayanan.
Hello. Tonight is a night of remembrance. We look at this year that has gone by, and we remember the things that we have accomplished, the things that we have strived for, to be more accurate, that you have strived for, because I'm not a member of any Toastmasters club.
Yes.
But it's always important to remember and keep in mind that when we do look back, we have to cherish those memories to keep us moving forward. And tonight, there have already been some memories made, and there have been some memories shared. And I'll do my best to express some of my own memories out of the short 17 years that I do have. Now, my journey with Toastmasters began 10 years ago. This was back in the time when the Nintendo Wii was the brand new thing. Does anyone else remember that? Or with the NES system, or Atari, or Pong, or am I going back too far? Someone stop me. This was the new craze at the time. And after begging my parents for about 46 days straight, I finally got the new one. And so I came home that day, I plugged into the TV, I turned it on, and I played. That first day I played for 9 hours straight. And so my parents looked at each other and wondered if that was the smartest decision, right? Maybe they gave in too early and they could have lasted out for another 4 days, making it even 50. And my dad got a little concerned. And he told me that he had heard about something new. He said that there was something called Toastmasters that wasn't really intended for me, but they had a program going on that weekend. And he wanted to know if I was interested. So I told him at the time, of course I was in second grade, and my main concern was whether or not I could get a new record on that game. I told him, Dad, I already have plans for today. I have plans for this weekend, and I have plans for next year. And he goes, really, what are those plans? And I, not realizing this was a trap, said, I'm going to play. My dad said, okay, I understand, and I will respect your wishes. The next Saturday, we went to the program. When I was woken up, I was originally told that we were not going to the program, that it was just later in the day. So then he tells me to get in the car, and I ask him why. He says, get in the car, so then we go. I knew something was up, but I didn't really know what it was. And this is also how I got my Wii in the first place, so I was actually excited. We go there. I see there are a lot of other parents, a lot of other students just like me. We're all wondering why we're there. I see Vijay Nair's there. That's when I start to realize something's a little bit off. What's going on? Next thing I know, there's a slide that says Toastmasters. I give my dad a look, and he gives me back the same look. From there, I kept my involvement with Toastmasters going for the next 5-6 years. I'd go to these programs, these youth leadership programs, and I would watch, I would observe, sometimes participate, and I would learn from the experiences that were happening. Adult Toastmasters would come in, they would impart their knowledge and their wisdom by explaining, you want to try to not use filler words. Does that sound familiar to anyone? In evaluations? Or you want to try and use the stage, use vocal variety, facial expressions, and all these other technical aspects of public speaking. And after about 5 years, I thought I was trying to get some of the hang of it. So I asked my dad, is there something more that I can do? Because it was about this time that I began to realize that Toastmasters was a fun opportunity. And yes, I know it took me longer than most, 5 years. But keep in mind, I was still very young at the time. And after all of that, my dad said, maybe there is something that we can do. And so I started going to other youth leadership programs that I was not a participant in or just observing. And I would ask, is there a way that I could help out? And most of the time, the answer was no. But I continued going and trying my best to help out in any way that I could. And after all of that, after many, many years of going there, of getting the opportunity to go to conferences, TLIs, more events, of course, that my dad had to trick me at first into going, I began to realize that there's something special about this organization that many times we don't realize. We hear people say, oh, Toastmasters. I'm very thankful for Toastmasters. It's a great speaking organization. But what they don't tell you is how it changes you. Yes, you are a better speaker, but you are also a better person. The way that you approach things in life changes. You see yourself as a leader and as a communicator, one that takes the initiative and the charge to do the things that are necessary. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I hope everyone's raising their hand right now. This is kind of awkward. But it also led me to realize very quickly that the situation that I was so fortunate to have been in is not one that's shared by many. There are a couple of factors, of course, that led to this happening. The first, and perhaps one of the most important, is that I was simply in the right place at the right time. My parents, of course, knew that a program was happening. They somehow brought me along, and I got these opportunities, right? Without these sort of opportunities, without getting this exposure initially, I wouldn't be here standing and talking to you right now. I'd be setting a new world record in Mario Kart Wii. Something that's I would hope to do. But it led me to realize that there's also a second factor, which is that there's a good chance that I would not even be in Florida right now if something else did not happen to me. When I was younger, I actually don't come from Florida. I know, right? You can guess. I don't come from Florida. That's right. You can hear it in my accent too. That's right. I'm from Boston. And the climate there is actually a little bit colder than Florida. And what happened is that I would get ear infections every single week because of how cold it was. My body was just not able to take the temperature. So my parents decided that it was time to go to a warmer climate. And of all the places that they could choose, they decided on Tampa. Why? Because it's in Florida. When you describe Florida to someone else, how do you describe it? You describe Publix. You describe the beaches. You don't tell how many people are there, but you say there are beaches. You tell them all these different things that make Florida sound more like Hawaii than Florida. If you go back, actually, a little bit over 100 years, this may be a little difficult, but where we are right now in Naples, if you go north on I-75, you look left and right, you see these big buildings, these big structures, you see these beautiful rivers, these beautiful lakes, and you think to yourself, wow, this is Florida. That's only very recent change. If you go back a little bit over a century ago, Florida's like actually when you go south on I-75 and you go through the Everglades, right? Full of water, little human settlement. And even since the 1500s, when the Spanish first landed here and settled in St. Augustine, people have been trying to expand into Florida and just never could, right? Because of the water, because of all these challenges that were in place. Even President Taylor, who ran his campaign on expanding America, couldn't quite figure out how to get into Florida. But around the early 1900s, a group of people started trying to figure out if there's some opportunity to be had in Florida, if there's some sort of real estate market or something that could be done here in Florida to build it up as one of America's most premier states, into the state that we know it is now. And it was not an easy task. They took engines from submarines, they had to build canals, they had to build all sorts of different contraptions to try and drain the water and build the Florida that we know today. And for centuries they had been trying, but it was because they had a visualization of what they wanted. And that visualization is leadership. It's not about recognizing that it was probably very difficult to remove that much water out of this large of a state. It was about recognizing that there was an opportunity to be had if you looked closely enough. And that is what Alaka'i is. It's the Hawaiian term for leadership. It's the Hawaiian term that references this idea of visualization. And so when you see these moments, when you see these chances, these opportunities that you will have every single day of your life, every single moment of your life, to take the charge, take the initiative, whether it's deciding to come here, deciding to go to your Toastmasters club, deciding to speak at an organization that has invited you, helping someone else, all these other noble things that we can think of. It's up to you to take that charge, and especially when it comes to the youth. Regardless of your reasons for helping the youth, whether you want to benefit Toastmasters, whether you want to benefit for yourself, whether you want to try and entrap parents like how my dad was entrapped. The most important thing is that you go out and you do it. I know that I would not be here if I did not get opportunities at events like this from Mr. Rizzo and the organizers, from countless other people, that I could give you a speech that's just as long as this, only talking and mentioning their names. As I conclude, I want you all to think about something. I want you all to think about that we that I had all those years ago, that I still have but doesn't work. And I want you to think about what that we represented. It represented happiness, right? It represented pleasure, something that I've been working for, something that you really, really wanted, and you saw yourself spending the rest of your life doing. And then I want you to think about what happened to that week, right? And what it is that I do now. I can tell you that out of both of those, there's one that I'm happy to have selected. And in that same way, I encourage you all to find that inner Alaka'i and figure out what it is that you want to do. So that tomorrow you can have more memories from today.